Meet Frank Martin, a special ops officer. He has relocated from peaceful southern France to the bustling city of Miami. As a favor to a friend, he takes a temporary gig as a chauffeur for the wealthy Billings family, which includes Audrey, Jefferson, and their young son, Jack. One day, while waiting to pick up Jack from school, a girl approaches Frank asking for help. Frank, ever calm and collected, declines, but the situation takes a turn when she pulls a gun on him. Without flinching, Frank steps out of his car, only for a gang to swoop in, attempting to steal his Audi A8. But it's not that simple. They struggle to start the car, unaware that it requires a special passcode. When they get aggressive, Frank effortlessly handles the situation, taking off his coat and dealing with them swiftly. After the scuffle, Frank picks up Jack from school, and the two bond during the drive home, playing a fun game. It's clear that Jack enjoys Frank's company, and they've developed a strong connection. However, when they arrive at the Billings home, Frank notices some tension between the parents. Audrey, who seems to admire Frank, confides in her husband about their strained marriage. She also requested that he arrange Jack's hospital appointment, which was scheduled for the next morning. Little do they know someone is secretly watching their every move. Later that night, Frank's peaceful dinner is interrupted by a surprise visit from Audrey, who's in the mood to bang him. But Frank, always cool and professional, gently turns her down, explaining that he has strict rules he follows. He sends her back home, staying true to his personal code. Meanwhile, we learn that the one spying on the Billings family is none other than Gianni Cellini, a dangerous gangster with a twisted plan. Gianni has ordered a deadly virus along with its cure. His evil scheme? Infect the kid Jack with the virus, knowing that Senator Jefferson Billings will soon meet with top government officials. Once the virus spreads, it will quickly leap from person to person, causing chaos worldwide. The next morning, Frank is preparing for his friend Tarconi's arrival, a French detective coming to Florida for a much-needed vacation. But before that, Frank drives Jack to the hospital for his scheduled checkup. Jack is understandably nervous, but Frank reassures him, promising that he's safe and nothing bad will happen. What Frank doesn't realize is that Gianni's team has already taken out the real doctor and nurse, replacing them with imposters. When Frank asks the nurse about the doctor, she casually tells him the doctor's on leave and a different one will be seeing Jack today. The fake doctor then instructs Frank to wait outside, leaving poor Jack alone with the gangsters. But Frank's no fool. He quickly notices something is off. The nurse's odd choice of high heels and drop of blood trailing from a door clue him in. Sensing danger, Frank springs into action. He bursts into the doctor's office just in time to stop them from injecting Jack with the virus. Telling Jack to hide, Frank faces off against the imposters, ready for battle. As Frank makes his escape with Jack, trouble follows close behind. Lola, one of Gianni's most dangerous henchmen, opens fire, but Frank manages to shield both himself and Jack. They make a dash for the parking lot, dodging bullets along the way. Meanwhile, Lola orders her men to plant a bomb under Frank's beloved Audi. But Frank isn't just a skilled driver, he's also smart. He manages to escape in the car, and despite Lola's attempts to take them out, the car's bulletproof features keep them safe. Frustrated, Lola reports to Gianni that their first attempt has failed, but Gianni, ever the mastermind, decides to move on to Plan B. Frank eventually reaches Senator Jefferson's house, where a surprise party is being thrown for Jack. But just as he steps inside, his phone rings. It's Gianni. He coldly informs Frank that Jack is now in the crosshairs of a sniper and the car's bulletproof glass won't be enough to protect him this time. With no choice and Jack's life on the line, Frank reluctantly allows Lola into the car, all while Audrey anxiously watches this in the distance. Following Gianni's orders, Frank speeds off in his car with the police hot on his trail. In typical Frank fashion, he skillfully evades them, leaving a trail of crashed squad cars in his wake. His driving skills are legendary after all. He finally arrives at Gianni's warehouse, where he's told to leave without Jack. Left with no options, Frank heads back to his car. While entering the car, he notices a bomb is planted below the car in the reflections, but he's got a trick under his sleeves. Frank accelerates the car and pulls off a precise maneuver that flings the bomb away just seconds before it explodes. With the explosion behind him, Frank breathes a sigh of relief, narrowly escaping death. But the danger's far from over. He learns that Gianni has upped the stakes, demanding a $5 million ransom from Jefferson for his son's life. The senator grows suspicious of Frank, thinking he might be involved. But Audrey trusts Frank completely. After all, he swore to protect Jack. Frank calls Senator Jefferson and quickly realizes the police are now after him too. To throw them off, he leaves his phone behind and contacts Inspector Tarconi, who's staying at his house. The police catch up to Tarconi, but they soon recognize him as a fellow French officer. They offer him a temporary stay at the police station for safety. Frank, meanwhile, heads to the hospital to track down the fake doctor, Dimitri. Inside the office, he discovers the virus serum, but before he can grab it, a man points a gun at him. A fight breaks out, and Frank manages to take the guy down, though the serum gets destroyed in the chaos. Thinking fast, Frank takes a placebo serum from the drawer and escapes the hospital. He reaches out to Tarconi, who now has access to the police station's computer system. Frank sends him a photo of the fake doctor. Tarconi identifies him as a Russian biologist and helps Frank track down Dimitri's location. Frank arrives at Dimitri's place, but as soon as he does, Dimitri panics and opens fire. Unfazed, Frank chases after him. Dimitri flees down a fire escape and, out of bullets, hops onto a bus. But Frank spots a jet ski nearby, leaps onto it, and gives chase. In a wild move, he launches the jet ski onto the road and catches up to the bus. Frank finally corners Dimitri and injects him with the fake virus, putting an end to the chase. Dimitri, frantic for the antidote, rushes to the lab. Frank tails him silently. In a panic, Dimitri demands the antidote from the scientist, even killing Tipov, one of Gianni's men, to make him cooperate. Just as the situation escalates, Frank bursts in and takes out another henchman. It turns out Dimitri wasn't even infected. The real problem arises when the scientist reveals that anyone Jack exhales near will catch the virus. In a final act of chaos, the scientist throws the only 2 vials of the antidote out the window. Frank springs into action, diving out the window to catch them. He collides with a taxi and crashes to the ground, sending the vials flying. As traffic swerves around him, Frank scrambles to retrieve 1 vial, but it shatters. He spots the second one just in time and snatches it right before a truck nearly flattens it. Meanwhile, Senator Jefferson hands over the ransom to Gianni, but frustration grows as Jack hasn't been returned. Moments later, a police officer informs them that Jack has been located. Nervous, they approach the van, but use a robot to open the door out of caution. The process drags on, and Jack's mother, overcome with worry, rushes forward, ignoring protocol. She opens the door in tears and embraces Jack. Lola and Gianni, watching closely, are pleased to see Jack has a fever, confirming the virus has taken hold and is now spreading to his parents. Jefferson, still unaware of the full danger, reassures his wife that he'll be back after his conference. Frank, suspecting something is wrong, calls Audrey to meet him privately. He explains the horrifying truth. Jack is infected with a deadly virus, contagious to anyone nearby. Audrey is shattered, but Frank reveals the vial of antidote he recovered. Together, they give Jack the antidote, with Frank explaining that Gianni's real target is Jefferson. Before heading out to stop Gianni, Frank subdues a man in the hallway and handcuffs him. Audrey, in panic, tries to warn her husband, but he dismisses her call, saying he'll get back to her later. The virus begins spreading in the conference room, infecting global anti-drug leaders. Frank contacts Inspector Tarconi, who helps him track down Gianni's location. While driving, Frank realizes the police are tailing him, so he quickly swaps his car for a taxi and heads to Gianni's house. Inside, Gianni injects himself with the antidote, explaining to Lola that storing it in his body is the safest bet. Suddenly, Frank crashes into the house, catching Gianni off guard. Gianni commands his guards to stop him, and a barrage of gunfire erupts. Despite the heavy fire, Frank skillfully fights his way inside. As more men confront him, Frank uses his combat skills to disarm and take them down, one by one. When he finally reaches Gianni, Frank draws his gun, but Gianni warns that killing him will destroy the antidote. Frank hesitates. He can't risk losing it. Gianni also tells him that he's just a man who works for the highest bidder, and this time, it's the Colombian drug cartel. Just then, Lola enters, gun aimed at Frank. Gianni orders her to finish him off, reminding Frank he has a plane to catch. A fierce battle unfolds, with Lola shooting relentlessly at Frank, but Frank dodges her attacks, finally kicking her into a wine rack where she takes her last breath. Spotting Gianni escaping to a helicopter, Frank notices a Lamborghini in the garage. He hops in and speeds after him. The thrilling chase is broadcast live, showing off Frank's unmatched driving skills. Frank arrives at the airport just as Gianni's private jet is preparing to take off. He speeds onto the runway, using the car to board the plane by climbing onto the landing gear. Inside, the co-pilot checks the landing gear, but gets knocked out by Frank. Gianni, seeing Frank aboard, pulls a gun, signaling a final showdown. During their struggle, Gianni accidentally shoots the pilot, sending the plane into a nosedive toward the ocean. As the plane plunges, they keep fighting, but Frank eventually overpowers Gianni. The jet crashes into the water, and underwater, Gianni makes one last attempt to kill Frank. Frank defeats him again, but realizing they're both sinking, he saves Gianni to retrieve the antidote. He gives Gianni a life jacket and swims to the surface. Police boats and helicopters arrive to arrest Gianni. Later, Frank heads to the hospital with flowers, ready to visit the Billings family. Seeing them happy and reunited, he quietly slips away. Outside, Turcone waits for him in the car. As they drive off, Frank's phone rings. A man on the other end says he needs a transporter. Frank simply replies,
"I'm listening,"
hinting at his next mission.